Welcome to Stories with Steve, a podcast on the Central Buna Podcast Network. Every Thursday in 5 minutes or less, we'll lift you up with stories of how God works behind the scenes in our lives. Romans 8:28 tells us that God works all things together for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. Now with an encouraging story, here's Steve.
So have you ever wondered why God chooses certain people? I've always wondered that. And, I don't want to get too deep in the theological aspects of that. I'll leave that to Pastor Rusty and his podcast, right? But I always think about the people that God has really used. And when I think about my generation in my life, the first name that comes to my mind is, of course, Billy Graham. And growing up, of course, watching him on TV, Billy Graham, everybody knew who Billy Graham was. My grandmother watched him. And I remember in high school getting to go to his crusade in Houston at Old Rice Stadium and watching his crusade and seeing the people come forward, just how God used him. Well, fast forward a few years later, when I went to Dallas Baptist College, it would become Dallas Baptist University the second semester I was there. And they announced that Billy Graham was going to be the first honorary doctorate at Dallas Baptist University. It was going to be at a chapel service. I thought, now how cool is that? I get to be on campus when he gets that, and perfect timing. Maybe I'll get a chance to meet him. And so went to the chapel service, very inspired. And that night, they had a dinner in downtown Dallas, kind of a big dinner. Actually, it was donated. Some donors there gave it. So the college students, it was packed out, so the college students had to sit in the overflow room, and we were kind of grumbling about that. But imagine that, college students complaining about a free meal, right? I think it was a steak dinner on top of that. But I remember sitting at a table, and we were sitting there, and there was like a little podium behind, directly behind my chair where I was sitting. And before we were started eating, I heard something behind me, and I turned around, and there he was standing right behind me, the Billy Graham. And he was standing at the podium, and he gave a little speech to everyone in the room. And it's interesting, when you see people, of course, on TV or whatever, but when you're up close to somebody, you can really see a person's essence, right? The old saying, the whites of their eyes. And just such an unassuming type person, and just so inspired. And after he got through, I probably could have got up and shook his hand, but he'd have a security guy with him. But one of the professors, funny, he jumped up, and I found out later he was formerly on his staff, and he said, "Hey, there's that other evangelist." And they hugged and embraced. And then afterwards, they had a reception. I didn't know that they had a reception where people could meet and shake hands. People like Tom Landry were there, of the Dallas Cowboys. And Tom Landry was like God back in Dallas, back in those days. I did get a chance to meet him, a very peaceful spirit, and I'm grateful for that. But funny story about that is one of the students, you'd have to know him, he goes up and meets Billy Graham, shakes his hand, and then he sees Tom Landry, and he just says, "Oh, Tom," and walks away. Left him standing there. But the most impressive thing about Billy Graham was not that he was, so much used by God. The stories that I heard from Dr. W.A. Criswell, First Baptist Dallas, Mary Crowley, a big businesswoman there, all told stories about him when he was younger. When he first came to Dallas, that when he prayed with W.A. Criswell, he'd never heard of him before, that he got down on his floor on his face, and that just really showed the kind of man he was. And Mary Crowley said that he said one time, "If I ever claim glory for anything God does, I pray that he'll take it away from me." And that just so impresses me that somebody like that would have that kind of attitude. And to me, that's the kind of people that God uses, people that are humble, people obviously that love him and have the right motivation, because God knows their heart. And I think about my life and how I want him to use me, and in whatever capacity, maybe to not that great advantage, but we all have to just look at our heart and just see how God would choose to use us in our lives, right? So anyway, what's your story? I'd love to hear about it. Remember, you've got a story to tell.